actually, before we get into all that, man, let's get the Game of Thrones talk out of the way.
All right, let's do that.
So, yeah, if nobody's caught up or even interested in Game of Thrones, you can probably just fast forward through this. We're probably gonna shoot the shit about this for, I don't know, maybe about like 15, 20 minutes.
All right.
But dude, what were your thoughts last night?
Well, I was disappointed that John like didn't get to choose his fate, so to speak. Like,
Yeah,
I was upset that like Bran gave the Unsullied the power to like negotiate John's fate. So I was kind of disappointed in that, like, since he's been such a big character and like has such deep integrity that he got sent back up to the wall rather than like being able to make maybe a bigger impact in the world. So
yeah. John was like, I always thought he was like one of the main characters that you follow through, and you had that huge revelation that he was actually like half Targaryen, half Stark, and even though now that I think about it, like at the end of the day, that didn't even really matter at all because he never wanted the throne. And I think is that so, like, how pretty much every Targaryen that was lusting after like the power, like they ended up going mad.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of like the catalyst of what makes a Targaryen like go insane, because it seems like everyone that lusted after that power just ended up going just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that episode 5 with Daenerys just going crazy? Even after they had surrendered and rung the bells.
Oh yeah. I kind of seen that coming. My wife's seen it coming a long time ago. I'm like, I don't know, like I can see the craziness, but I think she's gonna keep it down. So yeah, it was a bit surprising to me that she just torched it like that. So.
Yeah, I wasn't like 100% even mad about her going, Mad Queen. I think it was just the way it was executed. Like they didn't. I feel like this last season really should have been a full 10 episodes, and I don't know. I think the fucking writers D&D, like they just completely just crashed the Ferrari. Once they had to kind of go and write their own canon, because they ran out of they went ahead of where the books were. They totally just butchered what made the show great. They started playing it safe, is what it seemed like this season. Because after, what was it, episode 2, I was like, oh, we're gonna lose like half of our characters, like, because they built up the whole battle with like
the
Night King and the White Walkers like as like the main threat, and like it was 7 seasons that they had built that up, and they defeated it in one night, and they only lost like half of their army, it turned out. And like it was like they didn't even so that was another kind of a weird thing, was when they defeated the White Walkers, and then they go down to King's Landing, and then the Lannisters had hired like the Golden Army and reinforced the city, and you were expecting this huge epic battle, and then the Battle of King's Landing was so just lopsided. It was like Dany only needed like one dragon.
Why'd she need an army?
She didn't need it. Yeah, she spent like the better half of like 6 seasons going around collecting, freeing slaves, and getting the Dothrakis back on her side, and getting the Unsullied on her side, and she didn't really need any of that. She should have just rolled up there with her 3 dragons and just torched the place. But it would have been a much shorter series. But the I had posted on Twitter and like on Facebook, but Team Cripple ended up winning the Game of Thrones at the end.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we got Bran the Broken on on the throne, or whatever you want to call it now. So
yeah.
were you satisfied with that ending? Did you see that coming at all?
You know, I seen that coming. Not at the throne. You know, I had a strange theory that Tyrion, since he killed his mother when he was born, that he might be Targaryen too.
Oh yeah,
And so
that was a couple theories on that.
My hope for the final season episode was that that Jon would, you know, that they'd defeat them. I was hoping like Arya would take out Dany.
Yeah.
And then the Tyrion would actually sit on the throne.
Okay.
And then Jon could go back and have the North, and Bran could like
be like the hand.
Be the hand for like both of them, so to speak. So that's what I was kind of hoping for, is that we would like find out that Tyrion, because his mother died during childbirth, was also a Targaryen. So
and then maybe him and Sansa get back together, because they kind of had that little moment in the crypt where it was like they were either going to suicide pact themselves.
Exactly. Yep.
And I was like, ooh, like, you know what? Like maybe there was like kind of something there. And
because I can see Sansa in King's Landing, but I can't see Jon like living his life in King's Landing, you know, like.
Yeah. I wasn't really too upset with Jon's ending. Like here's a thing that I've been kind of debating with people is do you think there was even a Night's Watch, or was that some sort of ruse just to get him up, and then they were going to go leave the wall anyways, like Tormund, because Tormund greeted him at Castle Black.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe it was just a big ruse. There is no Night's Watch. Like
like what's the point?
Yeah, there's no point right now. So I was thinking it was just a big ruse, and like now Jon's pretty much going to be like a wildling. Like he's going to be like, you know, king of
the wildlings,
the free folks.
Yeah.
And
which that's I'm okay with that too.
Yeah. And did you notice how many redheaded chicks were like marching north with him? If you watch that final scene, there's like I counted at least a dozen. I was like, look at all these redheads. Like Jon's gonna be just banging them out, just creating little Targaryen Stark redheaded children just all over the north. So
free running wild children.
I wasn't too upset about that, but that was that was kind of a surprise. I also wouldn't have been mad if you know, Jon had just died somehow.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for more like deaths. Like during the Battle of Winterfell, it turned out that like almost nobody died.
Yeah. Or important people, anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, you lost like Ser Jorah.
Yeah. I enjoyed his character actually.
Oh yeah, Sir Friendzone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a pretty good arc, and like, you know, you break it down, like each character has like a certain drive that kind of like is their what's the word, like kind of just their embodiment for the show, and his was just like, you know, he was completely in love with this girl and would do anything for her. And I mean, the guy got that was it that grayscale, and no, he had I thought he had a pretty good ending.
Yeah, I think so too.
I was kind of hoping Brienne would have died.
Oh yeah.
And maybe even like Tormund.
Sure.
You like if they would have gone down swinging together.
Yeah,
because like cool. I mean, it was cool that she ended up hooking up with Jaime Lannister, but he ended up leaving her anyways.
Yeah.
But then I mean, she got a pretty good ending. She's like head of the King's Guard now, and I was kind of halfway hoping, you know, when she was writing in that book about updating Jaime's little status. I was kind of hoping that the last sentence would have been that she was pregnant and was gonna have his kid.
Oh sure.
Like I was like, all right, that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been a twist.
Yeah. And then what'd you think of you got the small council with so you got Tyrion as Hand of the King. And then you got what's his name? Bronn got his castle, and he's the master coin.
Yep.
And then I love that one little line where he wanted to rebuild all the brothels. I was like, that's pretty funny.
Brienne put a stop to that one.
Yeah. you got Davos, who he started as what? He was like a smuggler, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And now he's up there, and
yeah, I liked his character development in the show.
Yeah, I need to. I used to go back and like rewatch all the seasons. So now that I like know how it ends, you know, with Dany going just batshit crazy, I'm curious to go back and see how all of that's held up. Because, you know, like the people forget, like she did some pretty evil stuff. Like when she was over in Essos, like she burned that one dude with the dragon. Remember, she sold her dragon for the Unsullied and pretty much like double crossed him. It was I'm gonna just burn your ass and take your soldiers. Wasn't there? She like crucified a bunch of people too. She's crucified like a bunch of
like hung them in the alleys or whatever, the slave masters.
I thought she crucified a whole bunch of them like on a road, like straight up, like just like a Roman Empire.
Yeah, totally.
Bunch of people. So, I guess the clues were always just kind of there. What'd you think of Arya's little character arc
at the end?
Yeah,
where she's taken off.
She's pretty much like became Magellan, and she's just gonna go explore the world. And
yeah, I thought that was kind of cool, actually. Yeah. I mean, that could go off on a whole nother like series on itself, you know. But yeah, I liked her.
That'd be a spinoff that I would want to see.
Yeah, and
they I thought of like the perfect name for it. They should call it Where Are You Going? I wanted to, like that spinoff would be cool, and then like a House of Cards type show called like Westeros Wing.
Yeah.
About just the small council and you know, just them just figuring the shit out, because I'm sure King's Landing right now is just a freaking mess.
Oh yeah.
Like they're gonna have like a lot of rebuilding to do, and
I know.
You know what's weird is when the show started, they were talking about how like winter can last decades.
5 years or
there was like, I mean, there was like generations where they didn't even know what, you know, the summer was, because the winter would last like, you know, 70, 80 years. And I could never tell in that last episode what season it was, because it started off with heavy snow, right?
Yeah.
And then there was some sort of time jump, you know, after Daenerys gets killed, and they arrested Jon Snow, and then, you know, they were able to get pretty much all the big players together to vote or to figure out what they were going to do, and it seemed like it was full-blown summer.
Yeah, so it seemed like there was a flirt of winter, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah. And then did you see, so everyone knew about like the Starbucks little scandal that had happened, but they fucked up again and had left some water bottles.
I didn't catch
during that scene. Yeah, a couple of the actors had just plastic water bottles tucked behind their like underneath their chairs.
On this last episode?
On the last episode, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they weren't making a really big deal about it, because I think everyone else is just pissed off at how it ended or whatever. You know, that was one of my favorite scenes of the series finale was when they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do, and Sam like stands up and he's like, "Wait, why don't we let the people decide?"
Yeah.
And they all just started laughing at him, like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like, I was just
the first thought of democracy.
Yeah, I was like, they're like, just get the hell out of here with that shit. So pretty much, it's like I'm guaranteeing that's how the electoral college in the U.S. was like invented.
Yeah.
Somebody had suggested, like, why don't we just let the people vote? Just have, like, turn it into a popularity contest. And they're like, yeah, how about no? So, anyways, we'll wrap up the Game of Thrones stuff soon, but where would you rank the show overall, like, of all time?
I got into like Dexter back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And like I haven't enjoyed a show like that since then. So yeah, it's up at the I think it's one of my favorite shows I've ever been.
Yeah. What I really liked about the show is it became kind of like it was like football season, like every week you would watch an episode, and then Monday through Saturday you would discuss it with everyone else that was, nerding out with you.
Yeah.
And it's like now with Netflix, like everyone just kind of binge watches everything all at once, kind of like Stranger Things. You can just binge watch it all in a weekend, and it's kind of like just a flash in the pan.
Sure. Yeah.
Where Game of Thrones, I mean, even the last season, everyone was dogging on how shitty it was, and myself included. Like, I thought the writing was terrible, but it was still fun to go like week to week and then just talk about like, oh, what do you think is going to happen next?
Yeah. I had a little different experience because 4 or 5 years ago, I watched season 1, like a binge style.
Okay.
And then got halfway through season 2 and kind of got lost in all the naming of the families, and I didn't know location. Like, I was confused, and I was like, this isn't that fun anymore. And like the dragons hadn't really came out, and that fantasy part wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
And so we just like took a 4-year break, and this last February my wife and I started watching it again, and so we've kind of binged up and caught up to like maybe a month, 6 weeks ago or something. So we did the whole binge thing.
Yeah.
But one thing that really helped me, like if somebody hasn't watched the show yet, like I really enjoyed the show after I printed out. I got online. I'm like, I don't know who the hell these families are. Like, the Baratheons and the Targaryens and who's who. So like I printed out this like page that like showed like lines who had bred with who and who was dead, like some history and stuff. And I was like, oh, now I can like get into the show. I can understand what they're talking about rather than like having to think the whole time.
Yeah.
And so
there's a lot of cool shows on like YouTube that like explain each episode.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
like
See, I didn't have any of that. So it was like just from show to show. And I was like, I'm confused. So that really helped out, and my enjoyment like skyrocketed. So
yeah.
I
like there's one show, I think it's the channel's called Emergency Awesome, and they kind of do like a Easter egg like special where it's like top 10 Easter eggs you missed in this episode. And and they're pretty good. They're always out like every Monday with that, and they also do one on Westworld, which is another show that I've been getting into. But yeah, I was the only season I didn't watch the first season when it originally aired. But I bought it pretty much the day it came out, and I think I watched it all in
season
2 days.
1 and then
I was hooked, and so I've been watching week to week ever since season 2, and it was kind of coincided with I think it came out in like 2011, and it was one of those things like after your injury, like you're always trying to find ways to like consume your time, and one of my things was just getting more and more into like TV shows, and I was really fortunate that like Netflix started their streaming service right around the time we got injured.
Exactly.
And, like when you're dealing with like the quad insomnia, and you just start binge watching shows, and I got really into like Friday Night Lights, Breaking Bad. Netflix really changed the game for me with TV, because before, like, I never had any interest in watching a show week to week. I just never never really had the time. And
Well, before my accident, I hadn't watched. I was sitting, I think it was 2006 or something, spring 2006. I was watching American Idol, and I was like looking forward to it. Sat down on the couch, and it was like full of commercials, and I'm like, I'm wasting my life. And so like from that point forward, I like stopped watching TV. So I hadn't watched TV for 2 years up until my accident.
yeah.
So, and then the first thing that like kind of grabbed my attention enough to like make me want to sit on the couch and was Dexter. So
Yeah. I started watching Dexter when it was on Netflix
yeah,
as well,
it
but
was
I
Netflix
gave
for
up.
me too.
I want to say I gave up maybe the 3rd or 4th season.
Okay.
I stopped.
Yeah, it becomes
caring.
a lot of the same.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I don't even remember the last. It was good. Like the first 2 seasons. I mean, they were pretty incredible, and the writing was like really just bold and daring.
Yeah.
I think that's where Game of Thrones kind of fell flat. Like, I mean, they should have just butchered the entire cast during the Battle of Winterfell. So I don't know. The writing, like season 7 was kind of like, it was pretty much pointless. Like a lot of the things that happened, like didn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. Like, they assemble that like big Suicide Squad and they go up north and to capture a white, and like that didn't really affect the whole story. And then it ended up giving the Night King a dragon who ends up using it to destroy the wall. And like, wait, what if he didn't have that dragon? Like, would we have been fine?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they would have just been able to defend the wall. And
Yeah. But then where would the story went, right?
yeah. I'd have to put it, as far as like a complete series, man, after season 7 and 8, I'd have to drop them down to maybe 3. I think Breaking Bad is still my favorite show of all time.
Yeah.